Artista cinematografico, artista del variété, danseur, disseur, frequentatore dei bal tabarin, conquistatore di donne a getto continuo, uomo che emana fascino. È una satira afferrata al bell'attore fotogenico affranto, compunto, vuoto, senza orrore di se stesso. Gastone, sei del cinema il padrone. Gastone, 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 ho le donne a profusione e ne faccio collezione. Gastone, Gastone, sono sempre ricercato per le firme più bislacche, perché sono ben calzato, perché porto bene il fracche, con la riga il pantalone. Gastone, Gastone, tante mi ripetono sei elegante, bello, non ho niente nel cervello, raro, io mi faccio pagar caro, specialmente le pensioni. Gastone, Gastone. Io sono un creatore, un inventore. Vengo da una famiglia di inventori, di creatori. Mia sorella Lina è una creatrice, tutti lo sanno, creolina. Mio padre ha inventato la macchina per tagliare il burro, un pezzettino di legna con un fil di ferro. Mia madre studiava economia, aveva il senso del calcolo sviluppato fino alla genialità. Figuratevi, io mi chiamo Gastone, lei mi chiamava Tone. Tone, per risparmiare il gas. A me mi ha rovinato la guerra, se non c'era la guerra a quest'ora stavo a Londra. I londrini vanno pazzi, per me io sono molto ricercato nel parlare, nel vestire, ricercato dalla questura. Sono un grande musicista, canto, ballo, trasporto, Gondrà mi voleva. Come musicista dovevo andare a Londra, dovevo musicare l'orario delle ferrovie e poi sono grande nella dizione. Sono il fine dicitore, il cantante aristocratico. Adesso vi faccio sentire tutto il succo del mio ingegno con un saggio della mia dizione. Io sono, come vi ho detto, il fine dicitore e tutto ciò che dico è veramente profondo. Io non ci tengo né ci tesi mai, però fate attenzione a questo mio soliloquio così denso di pensiero. Non fermarsi alla superficie, ascoltare bene quello che c'è dentro, quello che c'è sotto. È il mio motto, sempre più dentro, sempre più sotto. Se l'ipoteposi del sentimento personale, prostergando i prologomeni della subcoscienza, fosse capace di rintegrare il proprio subiettivismo.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Giornate del Cinema Muto limited edition. I'm delighted to have you come back to us this evening. As you've seen, this wonderful film, La Tempesta in un Cranio, preceded by a short film from the Czech Film Archive, Czech Castles and Palaces. This evening, we have with us several guests. We have Matteo Pavesi from the Cineteca Italiana in Milano.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao. Hello.
Ciao, benvenuto. Ciao, Matteo.
Grazie a voi.
Grazie. We also have with us the wonderful musicians this evening, Frank Bockius and Günter Buchwald, who are joining us from Freiburg.
Buonasera.
Buonasera. Buonasera a tutti. So we're going to be doing this a little bit at the beginning, at least, in a little bit of in Italian and a little bit in English. So we'll do a little bit of translation. If Matteo, if that's needed, we'll see how this goes. I was wondering particularly, Matteo, if we can speak at the beginning about the print. La pellicola che è una cosa così bello, anche l'imbibito, il virato, the tinting, the toning.
Ok, posso parlare in italiano?
Sarebbe meglio se possibile in inglese, visto che abbiamo i due musicisti con noi e la maggior parte delle... dimmi tu, se preferisci in italiano va bene così.
Un po' in italiano. Sarò rapido. Diciamo che siamo partiti da un positivo d'epoca molto bello, molto ben conservato, con anche delle inibizioni che si sono come dire, conservate molto bene nel tempo, per cui il lavoro di restauro è stato un lavoro lungo e attento, ma da una base molto, molto buona. E il film, come dire, l'abbiamo trovato, contrariamente ad altre copie, quasi intatto. E questo ha favorito molto il lavoro di restauro e di digitalizzazione 2K.
We have Paolo Tosini with us, who's going to do some of the translations. Thank you, Paolo.
Hi. So regarding the print, the tinting were particularly good for us and extremely good, but also because we were starting from a good base, a good start. The copy was in particularly good condition, almost perfect. So we didn't have, it will really help us, our work, to smooth our work, and the 4K scanning was pretty smooth because the copy was such in a good condition.
Thank you. And it is indeed in beautiful condition. Matteo, I was wondering, in your catalog note, you quote from an interview from 1928, where Campogalliani talks about un contenuto morale degno del più alto elogio. So a praiseworthy moral content. So basically what the director is saying is that for him, there always has to be a praiseworthy moral content in the films. Ma in realtà c'è questo contenuto morale in questo film? In reality, is there really this praiseworthy moral content in the film?
Ma allora, il contenuto morale nel film, se vogliamo, c'è, anche se, come dire, si potrebbe interpretare il film come una slapstick all'italiana. In realtà, come dire, Campogalliani, che è molto attento al pubblico più che alla critica, vuole in qualche modo raccontarci che vivendo, come dire, in una chiave così pseudo-psicanalitica, vivendo direttamente alcune esperienze, queste esperienze fanno in modo di superare, di esorcizzare alcuni problemi. E quindi è un invito ad affrontare la vita per risolvere magari gli incubi, le paure che noi abbiamo. In questo senso il film ha una componente, come dire, etica, morale, di indirizzo. Questo messaggio però, come dire, ci viene lasciato attraverso una serie innumerevole di gag, di gioco, di divertimento, che sposta questo film più in area americana che nella tradizione italiana.
Yeah, so absolutely. There is a moral content if you can read it. Even if we have to consider this movie more closer to an Italian slapstick, and also because Campogalliani was really aware of his public and what the public was looking for, the way he's passing the moral content, the moral of the movie as well, would it be to living, even in these extreme and cinematographic scenes, to living through life in a way to be able to confront whatever it is, life even passing through these things, and confronting the proper nightmare. So the ethical part would be exactly that, to confront your life, confront your nightmare, although through how he portrayed it in the movie is to gag, to fun, just to an exaggeration even, which make it more close to an American style movie more than to an Italian style comedy.
Sì, invece c'è tantissimi elementi più americani Indeed, there are lots of American elements e infatti Campogalliani è noto all'estero come il Douglas Fairbanks italiano. So in outside of Italy, he was known as the Douglas Fairbanks, the Italian Douglas Fairbanks, che per me è una cosa un po' bizzarra perché lui non sembra Fairbanks, ma c'è questo vivacità, c'è questo brio. But in reality, I don't really see him as somebody who's particularly aligned to Douglas Fairbanks physically, but he has this energy, he has this excitement about him.
Sì, sicuramente c'è questa grande vitalità e anche, se posso aggiungere, un grande controllo dell'intera produzione. Campogalliani in questo caso, come farà poi in altri 5 suoi film successivi, non solo produce i film, li gira e li interpreta, e come dire, come coprotagonista c'è Letizia 40 che poi sarà anche sua, oltre ad essere una grande attrice, sarà anche sua moglie. Il gruppo di lavoro è sempre lo stesso, e questo fa in modo che, come in un processo di cinema seriale, ci sia, cosa rarissima in Italia, ci sia l'assoluto controllo della produzione. E questo ha favorito il successo di questi lavori anche all'estero, dove questi lavori di Campogalliani hanno avuto negli anni 20 larghi riconoscimenti.
Absolutely. The great vitality and kind of production that Campogalliani put together make it exactly so complex and fulfilling, in the sense that not only is directing the movie, is shooting the movie, is acting in the movie. The actress as well, the main actress, is Letizia 40, who was also a very known actress at the time, but will become his wife as well. And the crew is always the same in the movie, so he brings a system like a serial production, almost a serial production system, which brings the totally full control to the production that for Italy was particularly unknown, but also this kind of extremely full control production by him would brought him a big success abroad in the 20s.
And Günter and Frank, it can't be easy to play music for a film about a madman, because it's so easy to go into exaggeration, it's so easy to push it too far, and to know how to modulate it back. So I'd like to hear the two of you discuss how you approach the film.
Well, that's a very difficult question, because we did it very spontaneously. I knew it will be kind of excuse the expression, spaghetti slapstick. Somehow it's deep. We have dreams. That scene in the dream, I imagine a little bit of Caligari when the other ones are in the prison, behind that, and the people who helps him are in prison somehow, and. The end title of the day, even a madman can have sane ideas. So it brings, even a sane man can have mad ideas. Just to bring this in a balance and to tell the story via the music, with the music, and not to Mickey Mousing too much.
Frank, do you want to?
Yeah, but I have... Honestly, in these kind of movies, I'm very much covered in the preparation with learning the action. So when we play, I have to listen to Günter and be aware when there is action to be played, and I have to make the decision, as Günter said, not to Mickey Mouse too much, but play the important stuff. And there was a lot in it. I can remember for much more for the short, I really made a decision. asking Günter, will you let me play the lead? But for Tempesta, we did it let me say, put it the usual way. We discussed themes before and the overall structure, and then we played together. And I simply tried to match the most important action scenes. And as you know, when you miss a shot or a hit, you are late.
Günter, I'm glad that. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
No, I'm glad that you mentioned Caligari, because one of the things I find interesting about the film is that in Caligari, of course, the psychiatrist is equally deranged, you might say. He's a madman. He's not a good character. In Where the Clouds Go By with Douglas Fairbanks, also not a good character. But in this film, psychiatry is seen in a much more positive light. Matteo, in questo film è molto più positivo l'idea del psicoanalisi, di queste cose. Invece c'è tanti film in quest'epoca in cui quest'idea di psicoanalismo è una cosa cattiva o sbagliato in certo senso.
Certo. Sì, diciamo che il contesto italiano non è ovviamente quello tedesco dell'espressionismo, per cui diciamo che la psicanalisi viene filtrata, diciamo, tra virgolette, in chiave un po' letteraria, in chiave un po' prosaica, non in termini tecnici. Negli anni 20, come dire, non possiamo ancora parlare in Italia di un'estensione, come dire, culturale della psicanalisi. Non possiamo ancora parlare di una psicanalisi che entra proprio nel tessuto della cultura italiana. C'è la percezione di questa cosa su cui, come dire, Campogalliani la utilizza come miccia narrativa, ma non ci crede fino in fondo. Io temo che non ci creda fino in fondo, e questo è un po' il modo, insomma, secondo me, un po' italiano di incominciare a guardare alla psicanalisi. Poi dopo la cosa diventerà più seria, però il primo approccio è un po' guascone, diciamo così.
So yes, there's definitely it was perceived and known psychoanalysis in the Italian culture in that time, although it was not embedded in the cultural system. It was not inside the society as well. So it's better to say that Campogalliani used it as a trick to fire the plot, to give it definitely fire and spice, even if he doesn't fully believe it. And in my opinion, he does not fully believe in it, and maybe will come later on. And his approach is definitely more fun in this sense than serious.
I think that in that time they have been influenced by many films. You mentioned Douglas Fairbanks, I mentioned Caligari, and they wanted to bring many aspects of different films in one movie. So sometimes it's difficult to make music for this, because you have so many different little impressions. That's why when we played for this film the music, I wanted to give a more musical structure and to make a bow and to tell the story with the music going along somehow. Jay, where are you?
È scomparso Jay.
Well, in the meantime, I can tell a little bit about the recording, because it was in a very, very small room where my wife normally is teaching the piano. And Frank, with his drum equipment, was just behind my left ear. And the whole time we had the fear that, because I live near a hospital, we had the fear that the ambulance is going, passing by, but it didn't happen between the recording when we started, but shortly after. So, and we had no possibility to cut the music, so we had to start the film and to start the recording and never stop, just to go through.
I'm sorry I cut out briefly for a few minutes, the wonders of technology, as we all know. Matteo, could you talk a little bit about how Campogalliani fits into the idea of the Italian adventure film Machiste, Saeta? Sì.
Sì. Campogalliani, anche se, cioè, sicuramente si inserisce in questo filone molto fortunato, legato, molto fortunato nel cinema italiano, in cui da una parte si affermano appunto i forzuti a partire da Ursus e poi Machiste, e poi tutta quella dimensione atletica di attori che hanno delle forti eredità più con il circo, con l'elemento ginnico, più che con la forza, diciamo, di Ursus o di Machiste. È appunto in quest'ultima, diciamo nel filone più ginnico, veloce, scattante, che Campogalliani si inserisce. Sicuramente vedendolo sullo schermo, vedendolo in questo film, la memoria va subito a un personaggio come poteva essere appunto Saetta di Gambino, insomma, per la vivacità, la velocità. E questo è un altro, come dire, è un segno fortemente italiano che Campogalliani propone in una cinematografia che ha, come dire, l'aspirazione comunque di guardare oltre confine e di portare un modello di comica, però combinata con l'avventura, con la velocità, con l'esercizio ginnico, che in quegli anni era un elemento molto forte nel cinema popolare italiano. L'altro appunto che volevo sottolineare è comunque quanto questo film sia attento proprio al pubblico. Campogalliani, prima davvero che alla critica, alla coerenza, se vogliamo, di scrittura, guarda alla piacevolezza del film per lo spettatore. Lo spettatore deve divertirsi, paga un biglietto e questo biglietto deve, come dire, dare allo spettatore un momento di felicità. Questo approccio così popolare, così bello, io penso, per il cinema, è un elemento che Campogalliani poi, come dire, si porterà per tutta la vita. Ha una vita, come dire, personale, ma anche cinematografica lunghissima, quindi da metà degli anni 10 fino a metà degli anni 60, di fatto lui lavora, dirige, interpreta, sempre con questo stile e questa attenzione al cinema popolare, e questo secondo me è la grande forza di Campogalliani, e che fa di questo film italiano un film che riesce a passare agilmente i suoi anni, che sono ormai 100.
Yeah, so Campogalliani is definitely getting closer to this genre, this sequel of movie of strongman. Although he's more keen or more close to the one that are closer to circus, to expressing more gymnastic and extreme athletic abilities. And to that, it is absolutely true to be thinking about the saetta from Gambino. That's why it is what he's looking for in his character and expressing his character. He used it as a sign of being Italian, like an Italian touch, thinking on how it would look abroad. Basically, what he's trying to get in here is a model, is a style of comedy, of Italian comedy, adding on the plus the agility, the gymnastic ability, combining the two items to create his own formula for comics. Another thing to be considering very highly is he was always considering the public first. More than critics, he was always looking at making films for the public. He was always thinking that we have to have fun first of all. So whoever is paying a ticket, you need to have fun. That's one of the main goal he was looking to. It's also to bring happiness, bringing joy is what he's aiming for. And this is an element that not only is in this movie, is in his entire career, which was pretty long, from the 10th basically to the 60. He was always looking to popular movies in that sense, and fun and joy. And what also make this movie, after 100 years old, still very easily alive and in well condition.
Yeah, for the non-Italian audiences who aren't familiar, as Matteo was saying, his career really goes on quite a long period of time. Unfortunately, very few of his films, of the early films, are available on DVD. His film with Ettore Petrolini, however, does exist, his early sound film, but he continued making films with people like Amedeo Nazzaro, Eleonora Rossi Drago, even Lex Barker. So his career really does continue for a long time. We have a question or a comment perhaps regarding the language. C'è un commento, una domanda molto curioso anche dal punto di vista linguistico. So very interesting just in terms of the language that's used in the intertitles, nelle didascalie. Matteo, could you talk a little bit about your impression of how this language, do you think it's common, o è una cosa eccezionale per questo tempo, per quest'anno, o è più, diciamo, popolare?
No, dici il contenuto delle didascalie, la scrittura delle didascalie?
Sì. Sì, perché qui c'è anche qui sferistereo, stracivendola, ubbie, sì. Molto curioso anche dal punto di vista linguistico.
Sì. C'è, ecco, questo elemento, diciamo, della terminologia che viene utilizzata nelle didascalie è sicuramente un retaggio molto italiano, molto umanistico, per cui c'è una ricercatezza nella didascalia che da una parte è un po', tra virgolette, aulica, dall'altra è di ricerca. Come appunto tu citavi, a un certo punto nelle didascalie raccontano una scena inventata estremamente sorprendente, si parla di foto, telefono, fotografia, quindi Campogalliani mette un po' insieme delle invenzioni dell'epoca per farne una a suo modo nuova, una sorta di smartphone che a distanza, come dire, rivela i complici di un rapimento durante appunto una delle avventure di questo film. Per cui sì, un'attenzione alla lingua alta, ma al tempo stesso come dire, un germinare di quella lingua futuristica che in quegli anni, come dire, attraversa il cinema italiano.
Oops, I think, Paolo, that you've frozen.
Yes,
Just as I
not only of language, but high language, but of terminology. It coming therefore, use just of terminology is more like a poetic style of using, a poetic Italian that is specifically used for that sense. But there is also the creation of new terms and new words, like the photo, telefono, photography, fotografia, which in English would be, again, like a combination of several elements, like the photo, the photography, and the phone, which is also an invention, a creativity, something that he totally come off his mind, and it's used, as we saw, to show a kidnapping live as it was happening. But it's also connecting as this kind of terminology to what would it be the futuristic terminology and language that was coming and that was of that time. That's why we found specific and new creative technical terminology in that sense.
Frank and Günter, it was sort of serendipity that I was able to program the short with this particular feature. It's just I liked the links, and there was something madcap about them both. And I'm wondering how you, as musicians who were looking really very hard at making connections, at getting a sense of spirit, how you saw the two of them fitting together or not.
Action-wise, I think they had their climax going on, and the actions. The first one, the Czech one, was very surprising because I thought now it's featuring the Czech landscape, and my first idea was the Smetana Moldau, which I stated from the beginning till the end. Which make a good maybe frame for it, and then we decided independently from the film to have Frank more featured in the first one and with more action and drums.
Yeah, and I didn't see. Sorry, I didn't see that strong connection between both films. I remember we struggled. Or I struggled with the first one. I think we did 3 or 4 takes for this, and I wasn't happy. So on the second day, I came up with this other idea. And then we were both satisfied. And with Tempesta, it was much smoother. So maybe just because out of the process, I didn't see the connection, but it was fun. The Italian one first, it went through.
The connection is barely there. It was just when the Czech Film Archive showed me the film, I just liked it so much, and I thought it was such an interesting curiosity because it's so self-referential, and the way that it's a hybrid, which I like so much, that it seems to start as a travelogue, as a nature film. It even says so, then becomes a chase. And then we learn that it's actually the prelude to a theater piece. It was all designed, we discovered. In fact, when people went to the theater, they saw a poster saying that the actor Karel Haschler was indisposed and he would be late. So they would show a film instead. And so the film show is produced, a screen comes down, the film is rolling, and then you discover that it's really just it's a gag. The whole thing is a gag to show him then bursting into the theater. The film ends, and then he would have burst into the theater. And there is no real connection between the two films. I just like the idea of a sort of madcap, something that was unexpected, and a sort of similar. There was something about the energy that I liked.
Yeah, I see.
While we're just briefly talking about the short, it's very nice because the film had been dated to 1914 for a number of years, for a very long time. But doing a little bit of digging, I found a description of the actual presentation of the film in a German language Czech newspaper from 1916, so from September. And then our colleagues in Prague were able to find the exact page of the newspaper. Marco, if you can show it. Exactly. So this is the newspaper page that they had used. They cut out a little square printed a pretend announcement about this performance, stuck it onto that newspaper, and then filmed it. So we were very excited when our colleagues in Prague were able to find this particular page, which proved without a shadow of a doubt exactly when the film was made, again,
Wow.
September 1916.
Ah, fantastic.
Super.
That was quite fun, yes. There have been a number of people who are writing in, seeing similarities or influences, which I find quite interesting. For the Czech short, it was suggested that the frock that he's wearing, the top hat, has parallels to the Fantomas serials, which I think is there. And then also very interesting thing suggesting that La Tempesta in un Cranio is also based on or ispirato da the Balzac short story La peau de chagrin, which certainly there are similarities there, I think, and also Les Miserables, there are elements as well, con un trattamento di commedia, il flashback più lungo mai visto. The longest flashback this person has ever seen, which I think is quite funny. And also the Balzac Victor Hugo connection, I think, is very interesting. Non so, Matteo, se sappiamo più l'ispirazione del film, della tema.
Ma non saprei rispondere a questa. Non ho inteso bene la domanda, scusami.
No, solo che c'è questa domanda se sappiamo se Campogalliani c'è l'influenza dei libri tipo Balzac, Le peau de chagrin, Les Miserables, perché c'è elementi.
Certo, ho capito.
Sì.
Ma no, guarda, è sempre difficile capire che background culturale poi avesse Campogalliani, che comunque è un uomo attivissimo nel cinema, probabilmente curiosissimo di diverse cose. Sicuramente, anche se, come dire, magari la formazione non era forse approfondita, sicuramente in Campogalliani c'è la curiosità e la capacità di cogliere gli umori, io penso, del tempo, gli elementi di novità, i cambiamenti, per quello che secondo me l'elemento della psicanalisi era un elemento, come dire, di moda, di cui si parlava, magari lo si conosceva poco, ma era un elemento che incuriosiva l'opinione pubblica. Sicuramente Campogalliani, anche in termini di letteratura, come dire, anche forme che anticipano o che raccontano temi psicanalitici, probabilmente un'attenzione verso questi argomenti, o l'intuizione artistica che questi argomenti potessero essere un elemento forte per il cinema, probabilmente c'è. Però io sotto questo aspetto qua sono delle considerazioni più intuitive che confermate da altro. Certo è che il film è ricco, nella sua brevità è ricco di tantissimi spunti, di tantissimi riferimenti, e questo sicuramente fa di Campogalliani un personaggio abbastanza unico nel nostro, diciamo, pantheon di cinema italiano, sicuramente. Non so se ho risposto in modo corretto.
Certo, non c'è una cosa corretta e non corretta in questa discussione.
It is always hard to really get a full idea and full sense of the background of an author, in this case of Campogalliani. He was definitely, for sure, that we know for sure, was interested in many things. And curiosity, moreover, was one of his driven engine, let's say. and he was always attracted to new elements in society, new elements coming, and one of that definitely was psychoanalysis in this sense. Literature-wise, we are not sure what it was his interest, but we can definitely say he must have been interested in some form of either novels or literature that were anticipating even psychoanalysis. This is just intuition, suggestion I'm making on the spot, more than actual fact. What we can definitely say, which make him what he is that there is a lot of readings, a lot of aspects, and moreover, a lot of references that we can find in the movie. Therefore, he was a unique figure in the Italian cinema pantheon because of that, because of the many faces we can find.
Frank and Günter, I'd like to go back to the music for a moment. You were talking about the sort of exaggerated elements, the madness, the adventure, the running, the chasing, all of those wonderful parts that keep the movie moving so beautifully. But at the same time, there's a wonderful moment on the bridge when he's thinking of killing himself, and the man says to him, you have to really be crazy in order to kill yourself. And he says, but I am crazy. And the way you both play it at that moment, he suddenly becomes a very real character. It's no longer the exaggerated, silliness. There's depth there. There's a sense of melancholy that you bring out beautifully with the music. So the fact that you said you were really kind of just playing with it, you at the same time you feel it very deeply.
Frank?
Yeah, I'm sorry, maybe to disappoint you, but in the moment I played, I have no time to reflect these kind of things. I react to things like the millstone, which was not very convincing, going down and stopping at a certain point. These are the things I realize. But what I'm aware of, I think we can sense the atmosphere deeply because we go into the film and we swim with the film, hopefully, in the best of all situations. And so if we make it, I'm lucky. But when I watching it after. You can ask many musicians when we have to watch the film afterwards. It's not so easy because we are so focused on our own playing, which makes it so hard to stand aside and think about the situation on the screen or the psychological aspect. This is much easier with films colleagues played for, or when there's some time in between.
Günter, would you agree with that assessment?
Thank you, Jay, for listening to the music. I'm not conscious about that scene on the bridge either. But this is our brain, our experience, how to manage to make music for those films, which is not so very easy because we have so many different aspects. What was told already by our second brain is our stomach, so it's our feelings, and we just how Frank said, we swim with the film. We follow the movements, the emotions especially, and we have our emotions towards a movie, towards a face, towards a situation, towards an action, and we bring it into the mood of the music without forgetting that music must be music, and to tell the story, how I said already, to tell the story with music somehow. I'm not sure about that, but it's the mixture of being conscious about what's going on and to not forget the emotions.
And one more, more aspect is we have to sense if we if we play in a duo, if we are thinking about the same sentiment in this just in this special moment, because I can spoil Günter's idea completely, or he can spoil mine. So it's a very fragile process, and it's not easy for me to explain it.
Yeah. And especially, I regret much that I could not use the violin for this recording. I would have done it, but it was not possible. As I explained, it was in a little room, and we had to run through the whole film, and I could not stop the recording machine, and I could not switch on the violin at that moment. It was too risky. We had to do it in one day. So maybe I should add some more emotions with the violin, or some tensions. Maybe another recording.
But we did at least 2 complete run-throughs, as I remember.
Yeah.
Or more. I don't know.
No, 2.
2.
Yeah.
So.
But so Frank, since you did 2 run-throughs with it beforehand, then I think you are more aware of things like the emotional truthfulness of that bridge scene, but it's more subconscious than conscious, no?
For me, yes. In films, I mean, still then it's a long film, and I have to remember a lot of scenes. With films we know much better, it's much easier to think forehand what I think psychologically, but honestly, not here. This would be faking when I. So, I remember the scene on the bridge, but it was more like, it was a sad moment, but not for me, especially to remember.
First of all, in the orchestra of the silent film period, the drummer, the percussionist, was the most paid musician, because he had to watch all the sequences. And that's why I like to work with Frank, especially because I know he knows the movie. Second, I think we follow the movie or the scenes all time with emotions, and without this we couldn't be able to accompany any film, or even for sound film. And if you don't have that feeling, you shouldn't play for silent film. Sorry, that's very hard, but it's true.
No, I don't think that's harsh at all. I think it's very accurate. If you don't have emotions, you can't play. But also, if you don't have an understanding of the rhythm of the film and of the editing, you also can't play too. And that's why, for example, the masterclasses, I think, are so extraordinary, because you musicians give us a much better understanding of how that works than almost any other kind of instruction we can get. So that's another plug. Do check into the masterclasses each day, please. Yeah. Matteo, secondo te perché Campogalliani ha lasciato il mestiere come attore e è diventato solo un regista? Why did Campogalliani give up ultimately being an actor? He stopped more or less in 1930 and only devoted himself for the remainder of a long career to directing.
Ma penso che sia stato decisivo il passaggio dal cinema muto al cinema sonoro, che comunque ha rappresentato una maggiore complessità nella direzione, nell'orchestrazione degli attori. Ora è sempre molto complicato produrre un film, girarlo e interpretarlo. Probabilmente Campogalliani dopo più prove sia come attore che come regista ha individuato proprio nell'orchestrazione degli attori, magari nella messa in scena, gli aspetti più congeniali, no? alla sua arte. E questo in realtà lo dimostra anche nei grandi lavori che poi realizzerà negli anni 30 e 40, che sono anche lavori, come dire, in cui muove anche masse, folle, eserciti, quindi un'orchestrazione importante, di una direzione importante della scena e degli attori. Forse in tutto questo una sua presenza scenica era anche un po' di troppo. Io penso che abbia scelto poi di insomma lasciare un segno soprattutto come regista di grandi film popolari, ma al tempo stesso avventurosi, epici per alcuni versi e divertenti per altri aspetti. Diciamo la recitazione nel periodo muto è una recitazione poi come dire certamente espressiva da un punto di vista del volto, però come dicevamo è giustamente una spaghetti slapstick, dove è più il movimento, no? Il movimento, la gestualità, elementi che poi con il sonoro vengono attenuati, cambia un po' tutto, per cui forse anche Campogalliani cambia registro.
Yes, he definitely shifted more to direction, most likely because as his career was proceeding, being more an actor, and in the movies he was making, he felt like it would be more difficult to be as well an actor and a director. Moreover, if we're thinking of his movies of the 40s, he's used to he's making movies with a lot of crowded movie with huge amount of people and an army and a lot of soldiers. So his figure as well, on top of all these big scenes, as a big strong actor figure on top of this on the movie, he felt it would be too much. He was, as we said, making this, he was more interesting than in doing big, huge, epic, but also popular film. And we also have to consider, as we were mentioning, we were talking about this spaghetti slapstick, we can call this comedy. His acting, therefore, was definitely devoted and more focused on the movement, and that would be definitely more difficult to pass along in the sound era, to have this kind of style of acting, definitely more focused on the figure and on the body.
Sì, assolutamente. Matteo, c'è forse altre sorprese Campogalliani che proviene dal Cineteca Italiana che possiamo vedere nel futuro? I asked if there are going to be other Campogalliani surprises, perhaps from the Cineteca Italiana in the future.
Temo diciamo di no, per quanto riguarda il periodo muto. Del periodo muto noi conserviamo questo film, non altri, per cui dal nostro archivio del periodo sonoro invece abbiamo traccia di altri lavori, però l'archivio della Cineteca è un archivio complesso e a volte emergono film inaspettati, quindi magari, come dire, magicamente, come nel film di Galliani, a un certo punto scopriamo che troviamo un altro film. Mi augurerei di trovare, se non un film di Campogalliani, un altro bel film da presentare alle prossime giornate del cinema muto, quando ci vedremo concretamente a Pordenone.
Benissimo.
So unfortunately, we don't have another new discovery, new surprises in the silent era. We have some traces, some ideas of some movies of his sound eras and era time film production. But I must add that our archive is very complex, and you never know. There might be, as it was in a movie, for a magical trick, it might appear another copy, or I would be more than happy to have another Campogalliani movie. I would be very happy to have another movie as good as this, to be able to present it alle giornate next year when we will be all together.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Matteo, thank you so much. We look forward indeed to seeing you next year. Frank and Günter, we'll be seeing you on Friday together with Stephen Horn for the masterclass, where you'll be discussing using multiple musicians in your accompaniment. So thank you very much. Tomorrow evening, we have the Greek film, The Apaches of Athens. Don't think that it's a Western about Native Americans in Greece. It's not. The Apaches, in this case, les Apaches, the French term for sort of louche characters in the underworld. It will be a delightful evening with recorded orchestral score, recently rediscovered and restored and premiered just in August, I believe. No, in February, sorry, just before lockdown. We lose sense of time. In Athens. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow night, and thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
Thank you too.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.